So come visit us at Zimbelman's Jewelry in downtown Burlington today and discover the magic of jewelry that celebrates life's precious moments.
Looking for great food and unbeatable convenience? Swing by the Cowboy Corner Express. Every Thursday, enjoy their famous barbecue beef sandwiches, hot and fresh. Need to feed a crowd? Their sandwich and wrap trays are perfect for any occasion. Start your day with some delicious daylight donuts. And don't forget, students and school employees get 10% off every day, excluding gas, alcohol, and cigarettes. The Cowboy Corner Express, located on South Main in Goodland.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4!
It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Give me my cane. I'll show you how to play this game.
And Max Gershon.
The Gershon build is short, but calves like this big. Big old calves.
The High Plains only local sports talk show. Broadcasting live on Rocket 102.5 and streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X.
Not this again.
Yes, this again.
Covering it all from the preps.
Costa 1.7 chucks it up for the win. It's an air ball in the Colby Eagles. Victorious in Hugetson.
To the pros.
Mahomes stepping up again, tries to throw. Light caught! Touchdown! Kansas City! Travis Kelce owning this game.
The Blitz is presented by Earl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank. Along with the insurance agency, the Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work.
Center of the floor. Hawkins for three straight on. Swish! Coleman Hawkins, he's got 9 and another 3. That's 7 for the Cats.
Top of the key, Libby Cure going to drive against Gaskell. Go up, get fouled, and put it in. A very tough take and a great finish from Libby Cure.
And an intercepted pass. Here comes Gary with a tomahawk. Bam! Bam! Thank you, Bam! Gary slams it home.
Rolling out of the pocket, Mahomes. Lines up. It's intercepted at the 40. And picked off by Eugene, who comes to the near side, the 30. Got it back at the 20. Breaks the tackle, the 10. The 5 to the pylon. Touchdown! Eagles have got a pick 6.
Holmes stays in at quarterback, and he's going to go throw long middle, trying to outrun the defense, and making the catch. Touchdown! Xavier Worthy against double coverage.
And good Monday morning, everybody. Glad you could join us here on this Monday edition of the Morning Blitz on February the 10th. Just yours truly with you today, Max Gershon, making his way back from Kansas City due to a winter storm that, of course, is coming. And most people who've been listening to the Radio Rally's been doing a great job giving you an update on the severe, or should not say the severe, but the winter weather that is coming our way, expecting Tuesday evening and into midday Wednesday. We will talk more about that throughout the show as well. But Max will not be joining us on the program today. So only yours truly for a Monday edition of the Morning Blitz. So if everyone had a great weekend, I know if it was a good weekend for a majority of our listeners, it came crashing down last night for most people. Although I know there are some Bronco fans that are chiming in already, Jared and Michael, that are happy about yesterday and the Chiefs' 40-22 loss to the Eagles in Super Bowl 59. We'll have some thoughts on that coming up here in the program as well, obviously. So if you'd like to chime in as well throughout the show, you're welcome to on the FB Bank text line at 785-899-2222. You can hit us up on Facebook, X, and Twitter. Like and follow the show. And, of course, chime in there as well through the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream, which up and running here on this Monday morning as well. It's going to be a decent day today, your typical day. Temperatures around 40 degrees. But once again, the big story is the winter storm that is coming our way. Once again, heavy snow expected to fall Tuesday evening into midday Wednesday, and then exit the area in the afternoon on Wednesday. You might see a little bit of snow on Tuesday, very, very light snow, powdery snow as they're describing it, and then some heavier snow that's going to be possibly coming up here on Tuesday. Right, anywhere from possibly 4 to 6 inches are possible. Pretty much right in our listening area. If you're in the eastern Colorado, southwest Nebraska and northwest Kansas, This snowstorm is kind of going to impact our area. So if you are planning on traveling in the area, you might want to make sure that you are planning on Tuesday evening being a tough time to travel, which I know is already wreaking an impact with area athletic directors for events and things of that sort. I do know that there have been a couple of basketball games already moved. I know that Tri-Plains Brewster St. Francis is mentioned on the Good Neighbor Hour. It has been moved to today. They've also moved, I believe, the Rawlins County Weskin basketball games to today. Hoxie and Oakley were already scheduled to play basketball games here on this Monday. So there will be some high school hoops tonight. But as of right now, that's all I have seen and heard on some changes to the area. I know some people have asked, do you think we'll see Colby and Goodland get moved? It's particularly to today. Once again, I don't know. I haven't heard anything. I would find it a little surprising if it got moved to today. Once again, because Fort Hays Tech Northwest has basketball tonight inside the Max Jones Fieldhouse. They're hosting Butler. So I would find it a surprise if they moved it to tonight, because I don't know where they would put everybody, unless they're going to do it all from the junior high gym, which would be fun. Don't get me wrong. When you're in that little Cracker Box gym and it's a packed house, it's a lot of fun. But I don't think it can handle the crowds that would want to come watch Colby Goodland play again. So we'll see. I have not heard anything on that front at this point in time on what's going to happen with other games. But I do know a couple of games have been moved from Tuesday to today, and they will be played here tonight. So we'll try to keep you up to date as best as we can. Of course, the best place to go for all that is nwksradio.net. Christina does a great job with our closing and cancellations page. So nwksradio.net, it's right there when you get into that website, and you can find all the information on what's going on, what's not happening, all that stuff. Christina does a great job with that, and school closings and things like that. My guess is we will see some of that coming up here on Wednesday, more than likely. So we've got a full show ahead. I believe we're going to be joined by Nick Athen coming up here at the bottom of the hour. That'll be an interesting conversation with him, talking about what went wrong with the Kansas City Chiefs. We all know what went wrong. Ross told you what was going to possibly happen in this game. And we'll get to all that coming up here in the bottom of the hour. We'll get to the leftovers from what we do not get to in our first segment of every single week, our weekend winners and losers.
There are two kinds of people in this world.
There's winners and there's losers.
Which ones were which this past weekend?
I want winners. Loser? You're a loser.
It's the weekend's winners and losers on the Morning Blitz.
You want to be a winner, be a winner.
All right, got to start off with some real good winners this weekend. First and foremost, first winner of the weekend, how about Colby Eagles Wrestling? And I'm putting it out there in general terms. What a weekend it was for Colby Eagle Wrestling. This past Friday, the entire GWAC met at Scott City for the GWAC Wrestling Championships, and it was Colby boys and Colby girls that took home the GWAC titles here on Friday. Colby boys taking down Scott City, who had won the previous 7 titles, mind you, had Scott City. So Colby getting the best of Scott City on their home mats, edging the Beavers by 7.5 points, 162 to 155. It was practically a 2-team race for the boys' title. Colby had 4 individual league titles. Julian Salcido at 106, Ryder Dempy Wolf at 113, and Simon Salcido at 126. Dawson DeGood at 165. Those were your champions there for Colby. And then, really good showing from the boys. And the girls' race was even tighter. Colby edged Scott City by a half of a point. 80 to 79.5. Colby edged Scott City. Tournament champions from Adrian Salcido, Aspen Sharp, Jocelyn Bartlett were the 3 champions for Colby that were able to help. And then, of course, everyone underneath that helped push them over the top to just edge Scott City by half a point, 80 to 79.5. And so Colby boys and girls wrestling champions of the winners of the weekend for their great showing that they had over at the GWAC Wrestling Championships here this past Friday. Just a really good showing. If you're wondering about complete team scores on the boys' side, so Colby, Scott City, Ulysses, Cimarron finished in 4th. Goodland came in 5th with 90 points. Logan Franz, did take home the GWAC title at 190 pounds. He continues to have a phenomenal senior season. And then on the girls' side, I mentioned Colby just edging Scott City. Goodland finishing in third with 68 points. Then Ulysses, Cimarron, Holcomb, and Hugetson. Danica Doddle was the champion at 130 pounds. Destiny Gonzalez champion at 140 for Goodland out there. Oh, and sorry, Lola Burke as well at 115. Can't forget about Lola Burke. So it's good solid showing from the Goodland Cowgirls who came in third. But like I said, it was Colby's weekend there in Colby's Friday, I should say, there in Scott City as they take home the GWAC wrestling titles both on the men's and the women's side. So Colby Eagle Wrestling, our first winner of the weekend. More winners of the weekend. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, it was a bad weekend for our own Max Gershon. It's unfortunate that he can't be here today to talk about this bad weekend that he had, because not only did his Kansas City Chiefs lose, but his KU Jayhawks got beat pretty handily. Final score looked a little closer than what the game was, 81-73, as Kansas State takes down Kansas in the second edition of this year's of the Dillon Sunflower Showdown on Saturday. Kansas State came out absolutely on fire and really had a really good first minute. I mean, it was kind of back and forth, I should have said, really, until about the 10-minute mark in the first half. And then Kansas State started to pull away. They were up 31 with about 3 minutes left to go. KU got a little bit closer, but K-State kind of kept them at an arm's length away. Great performances as Kansas State had 4 guys in double figures. David Gasson led the way, 20 points on 9 of 13 shooting, 15 points from Doug McDaniel, who was so good. He also had 11 assists and 6 rebounds, and then 12 points apiece for Coleman Hawkins and Max Jones leading the way. 21 points for Hunter Dickinson, 15 for Zeke Mayo, and 13 for KJ Adams. First for Kansas State, this whole thing is roll. It's now 5 wins in a row. They are really playing some good basketball. You look at in their last of these 5 wins, 3 of them have come against ranked top 25 teams. West Virginia when it all began, and then at Iowa State, and now against 16th ranked Kansas. And they've got another chance to take another ranked foe here on Tuesday when they welcome in Arizona there to Bramlage Coliseum, which should be another rocking place and should see a pretty darn good basketball game, one would think. But to me, the biggest reason why Kansas State basketball is having the success that they're having right now is because Doug McDaniel is doing what Coach Tang is asking him to do. Doug McDaniel is doing what Coach Tang is asking him to do. He is being a point guard that has led Kansas State in the past to having success. You know, you can go back to wherever you want to go through the Tang year. When they've had success, they've had a point guard that does exactly what Coach Tang wants them to do. Pushes the pace, knows when to push the pace, knows when to sit back, knows when to look for his shot, knows when to get others involved. There's no doubt Doug McDaniel was super talented. He was really, really good player at Michigan. Really good player. Comes to Kansas State, and I just don't think him and Tang were on the same page early on in this season. And now it all seems to be rolling in the right direction. And I saw this, and I'll see if I can pull this one up. Trying to find some of these interesting stats. I had one of them pulled up. Of course, I believe it was the man who called the game. It was Fran Fraschilla, and he was talking about how he goes, I don't know what happened to Kansas State early on this season, but the way they're playing here over the last 5 games, you cannot tell me that that's not a tournament team. That team doesn't look like a tournament team. He's right. They look like a tournament team, but they still have a lot of work to get done in order to make it to the tournament. They just dug themselves such a deep hole, getting everybody on the same page, which is happening in these times of college athletics because of the transfer portal and all these guys coming together for just one season. It takes a little bit of time for these guys to get on the same page. Now they're on the same page as the coach and with each other, and you're seeing the results. But they've got a lot more winning to do if they're going to make a run at the tournament. Some other interesting facts about Kansas State basketball and their win against Kansas on Saturday, 81-73. Coach Jerome Tang becomes the first K-State men's basketball coach to defeat Kansas in each of his first 3 seasons since Jack Hartman did it in 1971, 1974. There's only 3 But like I said, very, very impressive run for him and for Kansas State that they are on, and they have a chance once again to continue to build upon that here in the coming days with another game against a ranked foe and Arizona. But once again, they've got a lot. And here's the thing. You get past Arizona, and let's say you're able to find a way to win that thing. You've got BYU, Utah, Arizona State, Central Florida, Colorado, Cincinnati. All teams that are below you in the standings at this point in time in the Big 12. So if you can find a way, which I feel more confident in this happening than recent, if you can find a way to win this game, you're going to be able to come back and I think, and possibly even make a run at the tournament because you're going to have rattled off, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 consecutive games. And then you welcome in Iowa State at home, which you've got so much momentum rolling. Then who knows what will happen? Who knows? We'll see. The season is not over for Kansas State. They have found a way to turn it on at the absolute last moment, and they're playing some really good basketball. So K-State basketball winners of this past weekend, no doubt about it. More winners this weekend. Got to go to some local hoops winners here this weekend. Shout out to Rhett Katz, the big 6'4" guard for Logan Palco. We've talked about him on this show a couple of times. He had 35 points to lead Logan Palco to a Western Kansas Liberty League basketball tournament championship here this past Saturday inside the Max Jones Fieldhouse. They take down Weskin 70-44 was the 70-47, was the final score. By the way, on the girls' side, it was Wheatland Grinnell who took home the WKLL title 52-50. There was another really impressive individual performance from the region this past weekend. How about Braxton Mangan of Greeley County? Had 29 points, did the sophomore, 9 threes against Decatur Community in what ended up being a 69-34 win for the Jackrabbits over Decatur Community on Friday. But 29 points in a school record, 9 made threes for Braxton Mangum in a win for Greeley County. And then another shout out to Goodland boys. They beat Hugoton handily, 65-35. Coach Dahl called it the most complete game his guys had played all season. I would back that up. It was a very impressive performance from the Cowboys. But they go on and they take care of Hugoton for the second time in the same season for the first time since 2013. It had been 12 years since they'd beaten Hugoton twice in the same season. And so a big feather in the cap for the Goodland Cowboys as they continue to roll here in the 2024-25 season. Also, a shout-out to Colby's Elizabeth Barton as the Lady Eagles beat Holcomb on Friday night, 53-40. Elizabeth Barton becomes another one of these 1,000-point career scorers as she got over her 1,000-point career. She's had a humongous year as Elizabeth Barton in her senior campaign. I think she has over, probably was it 2,000 digs or something along those lines. I forget what it was in volleyball, and now she has over 1,000 career points in their win against Holcomb. So shout out to Elizabeth Barton, also a winner of the weekend in area basketball. And then real quickly, I just want to run through some other basketball scores and some other results from the local sports weekend. Some other girls' results. You saw Oakley lose at Russell, 46-44. Rollins County rolled Hill City, 48-18. Goodland girls beat Hugoton, 38-27. It was the most beautiful game, but Bill Bierman, head coach for the Cowgirls, called it one of the better games his team has played all season. Quinter rolled St. Francis 68-27, and Decatur Community beat Greeley County 40-35. Some girls scores from this past weekend. Boys, you saw Oakley fall to Russell 59-45. Goodland rolled Hugoton 69-35. Rollins County over Hill City 81-54. Quinter beat St. Francis 62-31. Colby lost to Holcomb 58-47. And Greeley County mentioned rolling Decatur Community 69-34. And once again, a reminder that there will be some basketball tonight. You've got Tri-Plains Brewster visiting St. Francis tonight. That's been moved from Tuesday to today. Weskin versus Rollins County has been moved to today due to weather. And then Oakley scheduled to host Hoxie tonight. That was originally scheduled on the calendar as a Monday night doubleheader. So Oakley hosting Hoxie tonight for some high school basketball. And I forgot to mention in wrestling too. Oakley girls and Hoxie boys took home the top spots at the Panther Classic in Phillipsburg on Friday and Saturday. Lady Plainsman had 5 champions, and the Hoxie Indian boys had 5 individual champions as well take home the top spot at the Panther Classic this past weekend. And then shout out to Rollins County and Decatur Community. They finished 1-2 in the boys Southwest Invite on Friday up in Nebraska. So really good weekend overall for area wrestlers. So there you go. Some weekend winners from this past weekend. Moving on to losers. We all know where we're going here with weekend losers. I mean, we got to start first and foremost with the Kansas City Chiefs and what happened 40-22, the loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. This is the formula to beating the Kansas City Chiefs. You get up early, you get up big, and then you just try to hold on. And that's pretty much what happened. I mean, yeah, the Eagles had let their foot off the gas late in that game, and Kansas City got some garbage touchdowns in late in the third and early, and then throughout the fourth quarter. This game, as I said, I mean, I'm a big believer in games are won in football on the offensive and defensive lines. Now, I'm going to give credit. Max sat here and said on Friday that he didn't think Saquon Barkley would do much running the football. He was correct. I will give him all the credit in the world for that. But I sat there and I said, I think the lines of the Eagles is better than the Chiefs on both offensive and defensively, and that will play a factor, and it was huge. Patrick Mahomes was sacked, 6 times in this Super Bowl? That offensive line for Kansas City got absolutely torched. And so that's that. And when you can just rush 4, when you only have to rush 4 people, and you can get pressure, 4 guys against 5 and a running back, and you can still get pressure on the quarterback, that's humongous trouble. Mahomes was not comfortable practically all night long, throwing from unbalanced positions, causing bad throws, which led to, of course, the pick 6 by Cooper DeJean, another pick 6 by Zach Bond deep in deep in Chiefs territory. And so because of that, they gave Philadelphia short field and another touchdown. And give credit to Philadelphia. They took advantage of all the miscues that Kansas City threw out there. And you can't do that and expect to win. You cannot go out there and have all these turnovers and expect to win a football game. Games, I believe, are won and lost in the trenches in football. Eagles had the better defensive line, the more complete offensive line, and the more complete defensive line. And that was the difference in this game. Yeah, Chiefs have got great weapons, and they still have the best quarterback in the game right now. And I'm not going to take that away from Patrick Mahomes because he had a bad night. Patrick Mahomes is still a phenomenal quarterback, still a great quarterback. But this game comes down to line play. And that's how you win in football. You win with the physicality of your line play up front. It was also funny. Michael brings up an interesting point at FP Bank text line 785-899-2222. He goes, heck of a game, well officiated. Now we just sit back and listen to KC fans call for Spags and Nag's job. Look, the game got off to an interesting start on the officiating side. I thought there was an offensive pass interference against A.J. Brown that was not warranted, but there were some other calls that went against the Chiefs as well that were not warranted too. So I think it all kind of evened out when it was all said and done. But yeah, that's a bad loss for the Chiefs. But once again, it comes down to line play and how you end up being able to play in the trenches. And Kansas City just does not have a good enough offensive line to protect the best quarterback in the game on a consistent basis, particularly against the really, really good lines like the Eagles had. And I thought that was, and also credit to Jalen Hurts. I mean, the Chiefs put the ball game in his hands, and he took care of the ball. 17-22, 221, 2 touchdowns, didn't have a pick. But then ran the ball 11 times for 70 yards. I said that his legs would play a factor in this game. They did. Had a rushing touchdown early in the game on a tush push. You know, it's Jalen Hurts no doubt deserved that MVP. He was the best player in the game. But once again, that came down like I thought on Friday. This game will come down to the play in the trenches, and that's what it did. And the Eagles had the better trench play in that game and practically all season. And credit to them. And that's a young defense too. Such a young defense. And they're going to only get better, one would assume. So the Chiefs loser of the weekend, and another quick loser of the weekend. How about the New York Football Jets? News came down yesterday that Aaron Rodgers will not be coming back. The Jets have said they're moving on from him, which I'm not saying that's the Jets for being a loser for letting him go, but they're the loser because think about it. They brought in Aaron Rodgers. They got 18 starts out of Aaron Rodgers and 6 measly wins. 18 starts and 6 measly wins is all that Aaron Rodgers got, or all the Jets got out of Aaron Rodgers, and that tenure is over. And now I think coming up here in about a month from now, Rodgers will be able to sign with whoever he wants to sign with. But the Jets are not bringing him back, and they're a loser of the weekend. They got absolutely nothing. They got no ROI, no return on investment for Aaron Rodgers in the 2 years that he was there. 18 starts and 6 wins. That's tough. There you go. Losers of the weekend, the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Jets. All right, 7:33 Mountain, 8:33 in the Central Time Zone here on a Monday edition of the Morning Blitz. Once again, no Max today. He will be back he'll be back tomorrow, but he's making his way back from Kansas City. On Facebook, producer Papa Gershon talking about Philly played their best game, dominated on the biggest stage. Hats off to them. Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, they played great, but like I said, that game was won and lost in the trenches, and that's where Philly was no doubt the better team, especially last night in the Super Bowl. All right, we're going to get to a break. When we come back, Nick Athen is waiting patiently for us in the green room. He will join us next, so stick around. Plenty more to get to here on a Monday edition of the Morning Blitz.
The Farmers State Bank of Oakley has been financing agriculture since the day we opened our doors. Hello, this is Corbin, and we are proud to be your locally owned partner in ag. We invite you to come and visit with us when you need to purchase new or used farm equipment, or need any type of agriculture or business loan. We have the knowledge, experience, and financial resources to keep you growing. The Farmers State Bank of Oakley, a tradition of community and agriculture for over 115 years. Member FDIC.
It's time now for news from the world of agriculture on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
For the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network, I'm Caitlin Walters. I recently had the opportunity to speak with Mark Gose, a Nebraska cattleman, about the importance of structural correctness in cattle. He talks about how to minimize structural problems in your herd.
Well, it's a matter of selection intensity. We have a host of things that we're selecting for, and sometimes it gets to be a tremendous burden when we move everything from the carcass traits to the reproductive traits and other performance traits. There's just an awful lot to select for. And so, we need to incorporate some selection intensity towards skeletal correctness in lieu of all those other traits that are there. And so, we're at an age where we've got a lot of index about now, maternal line index and terminal sire indexes. I think you need to evaluate your program and see what your goals are, and then take advantage of those cumulative indexes that we put together. Some people tend to shy away from the index EPDs because they're developed with a series of inputs in mind that might not totally align 100% with yours on your operation. But I think the thing to remember is make use of those economic index EPDs and select a group of animals that are your potential for the future, and then go within them and apply your intensities for the traits that you need in your herd from that group. So use that as a weed out criteria. Get a group of bulls out of the catalog that have the economic index EPDs that fit your program, then go within that host group and find out those animals that meet your criteria for perhaps milk, skeletal correctness, ribeye area, days to breeding, all these things that come into play. You can fine tune your selection intensities of things. But certainly we cannot avoid putting some intensity and selection on our next generation of breeding stock. We have to pay attention to skeletal correctness. And it's ever more important now because we do have so many other things to select for that it's often easy to look away from that or to not notice that. But it should become a priority because once again, everything begins with the foundation and then you build up from there.
That was Nebraska cattleman Mark Gose. To hear the full interview, visit ksfarm.net. For the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network, I'm Caitlin Walters.
LivestockMarket.com offers all the tools you need for a successful production sale. The easy-to-use online platform makes it super easy to take bids from anywhere in the world. Buyers can place pre-bids and real-time bids, browse your sales catalog, and watch your sale broadcast live. LivestockMarket.com is also the ideal platform for private treaty sales and timed online-only auctions. There's no easier way to find buyers for cattle, horses, sheep, and hay. Sell on your terms today with LivestockMarket.com.
Our farmers feed us all. For generations, they've done what's best for the land. So why is the litigation industry threatening Kansas farmers' go-to crop protection tool? Without glyphosate-based herbicides, crop yields will drop, costs will soar, and we'll all see even higher grocery bills. Farmers need to be supported, not controlled. To keep glyphosate available in our state, go to TakeControlKansas.com. Paid for by Modern Ag Alliance in support of Kansas farmers.
It's the Morning Blitz.
We're having a great time, couple of laughs, everything's nice.
Weekday mornings from 7 to 8 Mountain, 8 to 9 Central.
Once again, welcome back to a Monday edition of the Morning Blitz. Get your thoughts and comments on the EpiBank text line, 785-899-2222. Been plenty of thoughts on the Super Bowl, as I predicted there would be, and we're going to get even more as we are joined now on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream by our good friend on Mondays. That's Nick Athen. Nick, I got to start off. How was the vegetable beef soup on Sunday?
That was the best part for sure. No question about it.
I have no doubt that was probably the best part. What was of all the things that happened in this game from the Chiefs' perspective, what was probably the most surprising one? Oh, if we lost Nick for some reason or what there. I don't know if Nick's got his mic or something. We got an issue going on with the microphone. I heard him, and then all of a sudden he's gone. Nick, can you still hear me? I don't know if Nick can hear me or not right now.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yeah, there we go. Much better.
I don't know what's going on with my system here. But anyway, yeah, I think the surprise for me was just how flustered Patrick Mahomes got. And he just never was comfortable in the pocket, for the first 3 quarters of the game. And I was surprised the offensive line played as poorly as it did. I mean, the Eagles have, a great defensive front, but 5 guys should be able to block 4. But they didn't do anything. They didn't chip their tight ends. They didn't bring in the running backs to help. They did really nothing to slow it down. It was it wasn't a good game plan by Andy Reid. And, I'm not going to knock him too much. I mean, the guy's won 3 of the last 6 Super Bowls, so he's still a Hall of Fame coach. And again, I'm a 50-year survivor. I'm not upset about this loss. Like, oh my God, gloom and doom. The Chiefs will never be back to a Super Bowl. I don't believe in any of that stuff. We're still living in great times. But you were right. The trenches won out, and the Eagles. Listen, the Eagles are a terrific football team. If you'd have told me Patrick Mahomes would have 3 touchdowns and Barkley would have 57 yards rushing, I would have thought the Chiefs won 40-10. But that wasn't the case. You give up 2 turnovers, cause 14 points. Drane Hopkins probably drops, he drops a touchdown. There's nobody on that side of the field. He would have walked into the end zone. That would have given him 7 points at halftime. Maybe there's a chance, but in the end of the day, the best team won. And, defense wins championships. So the Eagles defense was better than the Chiefs.
Well, they were certainly more opportunistic of the chances that came their way with those interceptions. And then give credit to the Eagles offense. Well, first, Cooper DeJean taking that 1 pick 6 back to the house, and then after the Bond interception, being able to capitalize on that with the pass to A.J. Brown. How were you impressed by the play of Jalen Hurts on how he played the quarterback position? Because, like you said, they tried to get Barkley going throughout the game. The Chiefs would have none of that. They put the game in Hurts' hands. And I felt like, personally, he won them that game, and that's why he won the MVP.
Yeah, he was the reason they won. I mean, I even despite the defense, Barkley was pretty much clamped down all game long. I think if you look at his performance, his running really set the tone. Had he not had those 71 yards rushing, I don't think the outcome of the game is as far apart as it ended up being. But he made some terrific. So that the Devontae Smith touchdown was just a thing of beauty. It was really good coverage, by the Chiefs. It was just a perfect throw in a perfect situation. They decided to put the dagger in, and they executed it perfectly. So, I think Hurts deserves the MVP. I didn't think he could play as well as he did in the first time these two teams met, but he was pretty close. I mean, he was dead on almost perfect, and props to him. I mean, he spent the entire year focused on getting back to this game. They were terrible the year before last. Lost 8 of their last 9 games, lost in the first round of the playoffs. They revamped their defensive line. They revamped their offensive line. They drafted 2 young corners. They're doing things the right way. And it's kind of what the Chiefs are going to have to do in the offseason too. They're going to have to really dial in on this roster and make some really hard decisions. But Jalen Hurts deserves the MVP. That's a really good football team. Even though I'm not a big fan of Nick Sirianni, I thought he had a good week of preparation, had his team focused, ready to go. And the Chiefs they didn't have it.
Nick Athen, our guest on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. Now, you make a good point because I predicted the Eagles would win this game, but I was only hesitant for the simple fact that, of course, the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes and that the Eagles have Nick Sirianni. And if he was going to let his ego get in the way of but it didn't seem to happen.
No.
He stuck to the game plan. We're going to run the football, whether it works or not. And if we have to throw, we will. And we'll put the game in Jalen's hands. Then we're going to, of course, let our defense do what they've done all season, which has been turnover forcing machines.
Right.
And it just worked out. I got to give Sirianni a lot of credit. He really stuck to his guns and did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, they threw every dagger they could at the Chiefs, and everything that they decided to do. Props to Vic Fangio's 0-8 against Mahomes. He's 65, 66 years old. He's been around a long time. Hey, he deserves this ring too because he's never had one. And I think, I think if you logically look at this from a Chiefs perspective, we are in unprecedented times. The Patrick Mahomes era is special. It is unique. It's something we will never see again. This is never going to happen again. And, if you take the comparisons to Tom Brady, Brady was 34 or 35 before he got to his next Super Bowl after winning 3 in his 20s. And so there's a lot of comparisons. There's been a lot of hate speech this morning, and I just don't get it. The Chiefs lost. But if you're a Chiefs fan, you know what? Just enjoy it. It's been a great ride. It was a great season, a lot of ups and downs. I mean, to think that the offseason started, last April with the OTAs and it ended yesterday for the 3rd straight year, the Chiefs were in a Super Bowl. There's nothing to be ashamed of. And to the haters out there, trust me, this team's going to be back.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of fear that Kansas City's not going to find its way back, but they're going to have to, like you said, go and do some retooling, especially, of course, along the line, particularly offensive side and probably defensive side. And that's the thing. If you think about it, Mahomes has lost Super Bowls in games where the pressure was getting to him with just 4 guys. Against, when Brady brought it up, of course, in the telecast, but when the Buccaneers beat him in the Super Bowl, he had no time to throw. He was under pressure the whole time. Happened again against the Eagles. That's the formula for beating Patrick Mahomes. You got to be able to get pressure with 4 at maximum 5. And if you don't, that's probably when he burns you. But that's the only thing that's ever shown to slow down Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and I think Vic Fangio probably went back to the tape of Tampa and said, okay, we got to do that. They also had a spy safety on Patrick Mahomes the entire time. He was right there in the middle. Patrick went one way, he went the same way. Because they felt confident they could get that pass rush with those 4. And I think he used the exact same game plan as the Bucs. And again, the Chiefs had their chances. I mean, there were opportunities there. Had Mahomes had a split second. I mean, Xavier Worthy's a superstar. He's going to be their number 1 receiver. 2 touchdowns, 160, 70 yards in receptions. So they've got something special there. Rashee Rice will be back probably by October after his suspension. That's going to be a big boost. So like I said, the future's not dim. It's not. I mean, they'll fix the offensive line. I think Cam Jordan's a name for left tackle. He went from Jacksonville to Minnesota. He's going to be a free agent. He's in his 20s. Wouldn't be shocked if that's where they put a lot of their money in the offseason in. They have to get a left tackle. They're stuck with Jawan Taylor for another year. Thuney's going to have to redo his deal. And Patrick, who has a $66 million cap hit, is going to have to restructure his contract as well. But again, Ross, there's nothing to be embarrassed about, and there's nothing to think this team won't be back. They lost Tyreek Hill, traded him away for 5 draft picks, and they won back-to-back Super Bowls afterwards. So this team knows what it's doing.
Where else do you expect to see changes for them to be better for next year or be better prepared for the coming seasons? You've mentioned the offensive line. You did a good job breaking that down. Where else do you expect to see some deals made or some trade, whatever it might be, to better this roster's entirety?
I think from a player perspective, Nick Bolton's a big key to their defense. And rumor is that they are closer than they are apart on getting an extension done with him. Trey Smith is a free agent. He's looking for $100 million, and the Chiefs aren't going to pay that. But I think they're going to have to get another safety. I don't expect Justin Reed to be back. They're going to have to look at wide receiver. DeAndre Hopkins, Juju Smith-Schuster, Justin Watson, and Hollywood Brown are all free agents. I think the Chiefs maybe retain one of those 4. I think coaching staff. I think it's time for a change with the offensive line coach. Andy Heck's done a really good job, but I think they need somebody younger, fresher, who can really get after these guys. But they've got about I think I looked it up here, about 16 million in cap space. I think that'll be probably 45 or 50 once they restructure. But, they need another corner. They need a more physical, taller corner. They are going to have to address safety. If they lose Nick Bolton, they're going to have to find another linebacker. I've heard Willie Gay wants to come back to the Chiefs. I wouldn't be opposed on a 1-year deal as a backup. But, they paid Chris Jones all that money. They're paying Patrick a lot of money. They're going to have to really be creative in maneuvering the salary cap to be competitive, because, teams like the Raiders and the Browns and a whole bunch of other teams have a lot of cap space. The Patriots have a ton of cap space. The Commanders have a ton of cap space. And if players are going to go for the coin like they did last year in record numbers, it's going to be hard for the Chiefs to find that mix of guys that want to come to Kansas City.
Nick Athen, our guest on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC edition. Where do you think they need to get in the draft? Of course, they're going to pick later in the draft, but where do they need to go in the draft? And do they need to be better about developing, particularly on the lines in the draft, with Kingsley and other pieces like that they drafted, but they've got to find a way to get them on the field and be more consistent?
Yeah, they have to. I mean, they're going to lose Tayshaun Wharton probably unless they could get him to a team-friendly deal. He was terrific this year. He played, the position as well as Jalen Carter did outside of the number of pressures. He had more sacks. I think in the draft, they have to find a Jamal Charles kind of running back. I know they're very high on Devin Neal from Kansas. And he's probably a 3rd-day pick. He would be terrific. He would be the perfect guy that has speed. He's got court awareness. He knows how to be patient. He knows how to find the holes. He doesn't have that, that oh my God speed, but he's a guy he reminds me a lot of Kareem Hunt coming out of college. I think they're very similar type of players. The kid from Boise State is going to be probably a top 5 pick. So the Chiefs aren't going to move that far up to get him. But I think running back is number 1. I think receiver 2. I think in the trenches, they're going to have to find a nose tackle. Now, there are some really good nose tackles coming out this year. The Chiefs could probably find one in the 1st or the 2nd round. It's just going to have to be how they prioritize, the free agency market, how aggressive they're going to be. Do they do the Howie Rosen thing and just go all out and figure out a way to pay these guys later and just get it done? Brett Veach has always been a gambler, but he's also been very smart. But to me, fix the left tackle. I don't think they can find a starting left tackle in this draft. They drafted 2 in the last 2 years. It's my understanding that Kingsley Suamatea is probably going to start working at guard. He could be a potential starting guard if they lose Trey Smith, which is a huge downgrade. But I think he's better in the middle of the line than he is on the outside. So I'm willing to give this guy, a chance because I think he has some talent. Wanye Morris, I think he's just kind of capped at what he is. He's a backup and nothing more, nothing less. But, they've got to find, like I said, they got to find a nose tackle. They have to find another corner. The draft is fortunately loaded in their positions, and they've got 4 picks in the first 4 rounds, including the top pick in the 3rd round. And if they want to be aggressive and make a trade, they have enough draft capital to make it happen. So, again, a lot of big decisions, very similar offseason to what happened before they traded Tyreek Hill. I think you're going to see the same kind of fireworks. Hopefully that maybe they trade a guy that is a surprise. Maybe they sign someone that we didn't think was going to happen. But, they got a lot of answers, Ross. I mean, they got a lot of positions, a lot of decisions they have to make. And it's not going to be easy because, agents are going to be out there and coaches are going to be out there and saying, hey, the Chiefs are done. You don't want to go play for Kansas City. And, it turns out, you got to decide what Travis Kelce's going to do. And Patrick Mahomes has to go be a recruiter. He recruited Hollywood Brown. He's going to have to recruit him again, to stay with the Chiefs. A lot of teams are going to be going after these receivers that the Chiefs probably won't re-sign. So, in a long-winded answer, they've got 4 or 5 holes they're going to have to plug, in the draft and in free agency to keep the level of consistency up that they currently are experiencing.
I'll end it on this. I'm surprised. You think Devin Neal's a day 3 draft guy? Day 3?
I
think he'd be a day 2 guy. But
I love the guy. I mean, I want the Chiefs to draft him. I mean, he's kind of like, stand on the table, get this guy at all costs kind of thing. I think the top of the 3rd round, it's a possibility they get him. But every draft model I've seen, I mean, it's mostly 4th, 5th, 6th round.
Fascinating.
And, again, I mean, the Kansas Pro Day will decide that. Kansas has got some really good players coming out this year. They've got 3 terrific wide receivers who I would put on any NFL roster and just throw the ball to. They're so talented. They're so good. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs drafted one of them. But, I listen, I think Devin Neal in a Chiefs uniform with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes would be incredible. And Kareem Hunt is the backup. I think the Isaiah Pacheco days are over. He just doesn't offer enough offensively to kind of do the job that they need him to do at that position. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's not back next year. But, get me Devin Neal, and I'm a happy camper.
Yeah. One more quick question for you here from a listener. Wants to know if Joe Thuney, if he just had a bad game or if he was just dominated by a better player.
He was just dominated. He didn't have the foot leverage. He didn't have the strength. As an interior lineman, you've got your center and your tackle to kind of like play with and play against. They just left him on an island all game long, and that's going to be one of the biggest mistakes that Andy Reid made in this game. But Thuney did a terrific job from the Browns game on. He solidified the position. It was disappointing he had a bad game, but he got physically overmatched. And, that happens when you're a guard that, is trying to play left tackle. So he should return back to guard next season. So I think that's good news for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I would agree. That needs to happen. He is Nick Athen of course, ChiefsBlitz.com. Nick, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We'll catch up soon.
All right. Sounds great. Take care.
Once again, great stuff there from Nick Athen. Take a quick break, come back, and wrap things up with the leftovers next in the Blitz.
Big savings are waiting at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Get a 2025 GMC Sierra 2500 with 4.9% financing for 60 months, or drive off in a 25 GMC Sierra 1500 with $2,750 in rebates or 2.9% financing for 48 months. Plus, don't miss your chance to save big on their last hail vehicle, a 24 GMC Sierra 2500 Pro Diesel, originally just over $67,000, now just over $56,000. Deals this good won't last. Hurry to Hurl Chevrolet GMC today or shop online at hurlchev.com.
New year, new projects, and new deals at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware. Start 2025 with a bang by tackling those home improvements. Refresh your space with vibrant Benjamin Moore paint or stock up on storage totes and shelves, perfect for organizing. Lumber prices are down, making it easier to tackle your next big project. Keep warm while you grill year-round with their top-notch grills and smokers from Traeger and Weber. And don't let the snow slow you down. Check out the great selection of snowblowers from Ego and Toro. It's Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware with locations in Goodland and Colby, your partner for a productive new year.
At FNB Bank, we understand the backbone of our community is our local farmers and ranchers.
Whether you're growing crops, raising livestock, or investing in new equipment, we're here to help you succeed. Our agricultural loans are tailored to meet the unique needs of your farm with flexible terms from people who understand what it takes to make it in agriculture. When you partner with FNB Bank, you're working with neighbors who know the land and are invested in your success. FNB Bank, rooted in our community, growing with you. Member FDIC.
Miss the weekend action?
Yes, you caught me.
No worries. We've got all the highlights and lowlights covered.
Hey, okay, well, catch me up.
This is the Morning Blitz with Russ Volkmer.
Once again, thank you, Nick Athen. Thanks to all the listeners chiming in the FE Bank text line, Facebook, Twitter, and X, and YouTube, whatever you want to call it. Thank you so much for chiming in throughout the program today. Once again, expect Max to be back tomorrow on the program. Him making his way back from KC today. As we wrap up the show, get to some leftovers here real quickly. Starting first with college basketball. Colby Community College visited Cowley County over the weekend. Tough weekend for CCC. The women got down by 11 after the first quarter. They would not recover. They lost 54-46 to Cowley County. And the Trojan men, after a pretty solid first half, shot just 23% from the floor in the second half. They made 6 shots in the second half and fell to the Tigers 71-57. So tough Saturday for CCC basketball. As I mentioned tonight, you've got Fort Hays Tech Northwest hosting Butler for some college basketball tonight. We talked about Kansas and Kansas State. Also this weekend, Colorado hung tough but fell at Houston 69-59. Nebraska rattled off their 4th straight win. They beat Ohio State 79-71 Sunday before the Super Bowl. And then, of course, baseball got underway and softball as well. Continued their seasons this past weekend locally. Colby Community College baseball had a tough start to a season. They went 0-4 down at Western Oklahoma State College. They were beaten pretty bad, sounding in all 4 games. Colby Community College softball, they remained unbeaten as they swept Trinidad State Saturday, 12-5, 18-2. And then you had Fort Hays Tech Northwest go 0-4 to open their season at the Lamar Invite. They lost to Northeastern, Lamar, Southeast Community College, as well as Northeastern again on Saturday. So a tough weekend on the diamond for area baseball and softball teams overall, besides Colby Community College softball, that is. And then let's see. I want to get one more quick thing I had pulled up here that I'd marked. An interesting stat from our friend Jesse Noel going back to the Super Bowl. Let's talk about how the 4-man front pressure for the Eagles won them that Super Bowl. This is according to our friend Jesse Noel, the Kansas City Star. Eagles pressure rate is up to 52.4% with a 0% blitz rate. So yeah, they didn't have to blitz. They have to bring extra bodies, and they were getting just as a good enough pressure, or way more better than even better pressure overall, to get to Mahomes. And I think that was what decided that football game. All right, on to the walk-off.
And Matt lifts his ball high and deep to right. How about a walk-off Gray? Thomas to the 10. Difference going on in New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes flings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
Interesting news over the weekend around K-State football. Offensive line coach and offensive coordinator Connor Riley is leaving Kansas State to go be the offensive line coach for the Dallas Cowboys. So Connor Riley, who had been with Coach Kleiman for a majority of his career, particularly I think he was up there with him at North Dakota State and now at Kansas State, he is leaving to go be the offensive line coach at the Cowboys. K-State has announced this morning officially that they will be promoting Matt Wells, who came to the program this last year after being head coach at Texas Tech and Utah State. He will be the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach still, and associate head coach. So Matt Wells promoted to OC. Also this weekend, it was interesting. Hubie Brown called his final game in the NBA, or his final game as he is stepping away, is Hubie Brown. And there was a fascinating stat from Brian Fisher on X. Hubie Brown coached against or broadcasted games of 80% of the players in NBA history. That is absolutely nuts. Hubie Brown has coached against or broadcasted games of 80% of players in NBA history. That is how long of a staple he has been in NBA basketball. That is absolutely nuts. All right, that'll do it for our program today. Thanks again to Nick Athen. Thanks to you for chiming in throughout the program. We will be back on Tuesday in 23 hours. Max should be joining us then, and we'll have another program for you on that Tuesday. So have a great Monday. Remember, big winter storm coming our way. Get prepared, as that's expected to start Tuesday night and go through into Wednesday morning. We'll see you tomorrow here on The Blitz.
KKCI, Goodland, Colby, Burlington, Rocket 102.5.
SRN News, Thomas Thomason. Undeterred by lawsuits and rumors of lawsuits, President Trump's drive to cut government waste and reduce government spending rolls on. Mr. Trump, the first sitting U.S. president to attend the Super Bowl. At the game, Philadelphia demolished Kansas City, defeating the Chiefs 40-22. Mayhem engulfed Philadelphia following the Eagles' victory. Rioters set fires in the streets, taunted police, destroyed property, and commandeered vehicles. Not a night to be driving in the streets of Philadelphia. President Trump planning a new round of tariffs, a 25% levy on imported steel and aluminum. That's not all. Mr. Trump is also considering tariffs on any country that taxes American imports. In the president's words, if they charge us, we charge them. The opening bell just sounding on Wall Street, stocks starting off in positive territory. This is SRN News.
You know, you're really not stuck, really. People think when it comes to paying for health care, they just have to kind of go along with the way it is, no matter how frustrated they are with it. But it's not true. MediShare has been a huge help to people for 30 years now. And more these days, especially, people are realizing what a great alternative it is. And the difference isn't just the savings, which are huge. It's the whole thing. You're a part of something good. It's a community of people.